Hi, I wanted to make a brief video for you on how you can submit your raw files. So for each of the first 9 to 10 weeks of the course, you guys will be submitting assignments every week. Part of that cycle will be reading materials, processing videos, then going out and shooting them, and then converting them to JPEG, uploading them to FLICR, and there are 2 existing videos for that. But then the third part is I need you to submit to me the files, the raw files that you use for your pick shots. So usually that'll be 3 shots a week. I think the most raw files will be for week 3's assignment where you'll have 9, but usually it'll be a small amount during the assignment weeks. And I want to show you how you can submit those raw files. So I'm going to pretend that I'm submitting an assignment for week 2. I'm going to go into the current weeks here. I'm going to go to my week 2 folder. I've done everything in the research and discover folder, watched all the stuff. If I had to watch one of the supplemental videos because I didn't do well on the pretest with either exposure or composition, I would take care of that. And then I would go about the hands-on stuff of creating the assignment. And I might shoot 20 shots, 30 shots, might shoot it over the course of a day, 2 days, might be able to nail it right away. But whatever that process is, I'm going to have some resulting raw files. Those raw files need to be converted into JPEG files so that they can be uploaded to FLICR. And then those files need to be shared with the FLICR class group. And again, there's another video for that. But I also need to see students' raw format files. And raw formats are, for instance, many Canon cameras have a CR2 or CR3 file. Nikon cameras tend to have an NEF file. Sony cameras have ARW files. Those are the raw files, and I do want you to turn them into me. So I'm going to go about that process. If I have an assignment here, and for week 2 we've got the week 1 or the manual assignment file here. You'll see all the items related to that file. You can see the rubric for the file, so you know how you're being graded, but you want to submit it. And when you do that submission, you're going to attach the folder with the files in it here. Right now I have all these raw files, and Blackboard unfortunately does not do a good job of individual files. It prefers that you submit basically more than one file at a time. So in order to do that, I'm going to create a folder, and I will do in this tchotchke photo shoot area, I'll do a new folder. I'll hit Command-Shift-N on a Mac to create a new folder, and I'll say my name, FOM Assignment 2. And I'm going to drag a couple of these ARW files in there. So I'll take a look at one of these. I'll open it and I'll see, okay, that's one of the files I want to submit. So I'm going to put this ARW file inside here. And I'm only going to do it with a few files for class purposes to show you that this contains those 2. And one of the things that Blackboard does much better with, by the way, is if I compress the folder before I submit it. So I'm going to click on the Macintosh. It's pretty easy. You click and you go to compress. And you'll see it creates a compressed copy of that. Looks like a little zipper on it for the zip file format. Windows has a similar function to compress your files. On Windows you can use zip or RAR. And what I'm going to do now is submit that to this area. In addition to all the FLICR stuff that I did, I'm going to submit that in this area. I'm going to drag to where it says attached files. And it takes a minute or two to upload these files because they're pretty large in size. But when I'm ready, I can go ahead and click on submit. Now, I'm not actually going to do it because I'm an instructor, but I will click on submit. Instructors don't have file submission boxes, that's why. So I'm going to click on submit, and it will upload it to my submission for my instructor to see. If I wanted to add any comments, I could say this T key's broken. This was a neat assignment. and I could submit it. Okay, so I want to tell you what you can do if you start to realize that the files are too big. Modern cameras are putting out files that are exceeding 20, 22, 24, all the way up to 30 or 32 megabytes these days. And so those files tend to get very, very big in the RAW format. If you start to have trouble submitting your RAW files, that they're too large, an alternate method is to use your Google Drive. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Some of you may know or may already use your Google Drive. It's associated with your GTC Gmail account. So if you click on the Gmail account, you can access it by going to these dots over here and selecting the My Drive. I'm going to go to the My Drive account, and I'm going to create a new folder. And I'm going to call this new folder Assignment 3. And I'll create the folder. So you see it put a brand new folder inside here. I can now add files to that folder. So I'm going to go ahead and drag some of these ARW files to this folder. And you'll see a status. I have pretty fast internet, so it's uploading them. It does take a little bit of time, but it uploaded those files. Now all I need to do is go back to this folder here, this drive folder, and I'm going to right-click or control-click, and I'm going to click on Share. And it's asking who I want to share it with. Well, I will share it with my instructor. And my instructor would be fampete@gtc.edu. So I would type in PHAMPETE@gtc.edu. And this folder will now be openable or shareable with my instructor. So I have it, and I've given rights or privileges to my instructor. Sometimes it may ask you to be sure that you want to give privileges to all the files inside, and I do want to give privileges to all the files inside. Okay, I'm going to go to my week 3 submission to submit, and not just 2 or 3 like there are for some of the other assignments. So as I go to submit it in this week's folder, I'm going to notice that, oh wow, those files get really big. Instead of putting the folder inside here and submitting it, what I'm going to do instead is Google shared folder with you, type it to my instructor, and I'm going to go ahead and submit that. That'll launch the rubric so my instructor knows to grade it, and it will store those files in my Google Drive and allow me to share it with my instructor for grading. Now, when you're done with grading, you can take away the sharing privileges. You can always change the sharing privileges, or you can delete the files altogether. But it's a nice way to take very, very large files and submit them for grading without having to wait for the overload processing time that it takes for Blackboard. If you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to ask me.